So there are a lot of things there that typically don't happen anymore. And as we go through and we make sure we're creating these great tours and putting you on the trips of a lifetime, we're very consistent about what you get. So you have your perfectly located hotels, and we always tell you where you're staying. So at the end of your booklet, there's a little box and it lists all the hotel names for you. Feel free to go home and look those up. We don't ever want it to be a mystery where you're going to be putting your head at night. You have your meals, your entertainment, all the sightseeing that we're going to be doing on this tour. Everything's pre-planned, taken care of, and we've got the time set so you don't have to worry about it. And then of course you also have your tour manager from start to finish. So you have the same tour manager the entire time. We're not going to be switching, or if you have an allergy, you only have to tell one person. You don't have to tell 3 different ones, which is nice. And then of course, as we're moving from hotel to hotel, we move your bags for you. So if they get a little heavy, because maybe you're doing some shopping if you're like me, you don't have to worry about it. We move it for you. So now, the thing everyone's been waiting for, you don't have to hear me too much, we're going to talk about the tour. So we are going to Israel next October. And what I love about this tour is it is truly a trip of a lifetime. I mean, you are digging right into this culture, and I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised about everything Israel has to offer. Now, if you take a peek at your map on the inside, just to make a note here, anytime you see a 1, a 2, or a 4, those are how many nights you're in that hotel. So you'll see we're not hotel hopping a lot, and these drives are nice and short. So the longest amount of time you're really on the bus is an hour, hour and a half maybe, and then we're getting out at different spots. So every time you see a bubble, that's where we're doing some sightseeing. Okay, so it's nice and easy, a good leisurely paced tour for you. Now we have to take an overnight flight. It's not the easiest flight to do, so we want to make sure we do it while everyone can sleep. And then once we get in, we get you checked into the hotel, get settled, and then you have some free time until we come together for our welcome dinner. Tel Aviv has so much to offer, so it is a nice spot once you land. Freshen up. Don't go to sleep for me. We've got a time change, so try to stay awake a little bit and keep moving. But it's Israel's second largest city, and it's very, very busy with things to do. So if you want to walk around a little bit and explore until we come together as a group for your welcome dinner, feel free to. So just make sure you don't sleep through that welcome dinner for me, because sometimes it happens. Now that next day, you've rested, you had your dinner, now we're going to start doing our sightseeing. So again, you have that tour manager. They've already met you at the airport, and they've been with you the entire time. And the trip will have about 38 to 40 people on it. So you're with the same group for the entire trip, very consistent here. And we start right here at the port city of Jaffa. And what I love is just the detail here. And look at that architecture, the way it's built up right along the edge of the water. And as we start doing this sightseeing, the tour manager is going to provide everyone with these whisper headsets. So as they're speaking and going through town, the nice thing is that you put a little earbud in your ear and you can hear them perfectly. You don't have to crowd around or chase a person with a flag. We want to make sure you can be 20, 25 feet away and hear everything perfect. So just make sure as we're walking through, you'll have comfortable walking shoes on throughout the trip. So we want to make sure too, of course, with our pilgrimage, we have Mass. So we start this day with Mass at St. Peter's Church. And then we're going to start doing some more sights here. Oops. Okay, I thought we moved there. So is that hard to see for anyone with the lights, or is it okay? Okay, I just want to make sure. So whenever we start seeing some more things too, the tour manager always makes sure we stop for a little bit. So it's never going to be a drive-by of sites and we don't have time to learn about it or to see it. There's plenty of time with this tour being 9 days. So we stop here, and what I really love about this spot is that you can see right here is all the old city, so all the ruins. And then right across from it is where it's built up. So right there are those more modern, those newer buildings too. So you have a chance to see what the ancient ruins look like and then what it's like right there on the water right now. So it's absolutely beautiful. And here's another view of those ruins too. But we'll stop here for a little bit. And again, you already have those whisper headsets, so you can hear the tour manager perfectly. And we do have a couple step-on guides too while we're going throughout this tour. So we'll have some local step-on guides, some specialists that will be able to talk to you also. But we see some different things that maybe people wouldn't expect, like stopping and seeing a Roman aqueduct here. So this actually used to bring water a little over 5 miles. And who would think that that is still there? Because sometimes in America, well, a lot of times, if something's too old, we knock it down and build something filled with glass and shiny and new. And that's one of those things I love about this tour, and especially the culture of Israel. I mean, they keep everything, and it's preserved so well. So you also will learn a lot just about the country in general as you're going through each of these different sites. So right here is Acre, and you'll see it's right on the water. And again, it's got those walls built up right there. And this town was like active and discovered back in 1104. I mean, it is old. And so you'll have a chance to go through, and you'll see that a lot of it's right there on the street level, but underneath the water too. A lot of the city is still kind of preserved and still underneath there, very active. But after we get through here a little bit, we go to Nazareth, and this is Jesus' boyhood home. So one of the things that you'll see here right on top of the church is that little lantern up there. Does everybody see that? So that lantern there is supposed to symbolize the light of the world. So we'll stop here for a little bit. So this is the Church of the Annunciation. And I just love how we spend some time at each of these spots, and you have a chance to really be there and experience them, and of course with your host here too. So you'll have a little bit of time. And this is a spot actually where there was a wedding where Jesus turned water into wine for the celebration. Do you want to say something? Okay. You looked like you did, so I wanted to give you the opportunity. But it's just so much of the stories that you're going to see kind of come to life for you. And that's what I really enjoy about this destination, is that as you're sitting there and learning about it, I mean, it really takes you back, and you can just sit there and imagine that, these people were having their wedding, they couldn't have wine, they couldn't afford it, and Jesus did that for them. I mean, it's just amazing to think of all of the things you're going to see and experience and stand exactly where it happened. Now we end this day right on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, right at Tiberias. So Tiberias had a lot of things happen here. So it is known, of course, for the area where Jesus walked on water. So you'll actually have some nice time to walk around and explore too. As you're going through this tour, I don't want you to ever be worried or be scared that you can't be alone for a little bit, okay? So we stay in safe destinations. We travel to safe destinations. So you will have some areas where you'll have free time, and the tour manager will point you in the perfect direction to go get a meal or go relax for a little bit. Don't think that you have to be together constantly and that it's not safe, because it is. We wouldn't travel anywhere that's not safe for you. We're family run. We want to take care of you just like your family with us, okay? Now this next day, we start the morning out on a little unique thing here that I really like. So everyone will hop on this boat here. So it's like a princess ship. And I'm kidding. So yeah, nobody really chuckled at first. Everyone had to think about it. It is not your princess cruise ship. But you'll go out right here onto the sea. So we'll do a little boat ride too, which I really love. And then we'll start doing some more sights here. So after your nice little morning boat ride, you'll have a chance to see the spot where actually the loaves and the fishes happened. So this is where Jesus fed about 5,000 people. 5,000 people. I mean, that is just crazy to think that that happened at that point of time. So we'll have a chance to see that too, which I absolutely love. And this is a busy day with our sites too. We do have a chance to stop at each one, which is important, but the tour manager has a nice schedule for you. So we're not going to be running around, but we have a nice time to spend a little bit of time at each one, have a point of reflection if you'd like, read some scripture, talk amongst yourselves, of course, and then we'll move on to the next site here too. So the Mount of Beatitudes is a really neat spot where we actually have Mass too. So we want to have those Mass services in some unique destinations for you, unique churches and spots where maybe you wouldn't normally be able to. And that's because that's what we want you to experience in a destination with us. We want you to dive right in and have that trip of a lifetime. So you'll be able to perform each of these Mass services too, which is nice. So this is actually where Jesus gave the Sermon of the Mount, which was probably his most well-known sermon, I would say. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
And then here's another church here, the Church of St. Peter. So this is where Jesus appeared to the apostles after his resurrection. I mean, so we actually go through such a journey here, which I think is the unique thing too. So you're seeing a little bit of everything. And even at the end, when we get to the path of the cross, I mean, you really have a chance to experience it all, which I love. And right here too, so this is actually a church that we will visit, and it was built over the ruins of St. Peter's house. So we're actually able to go inside and do some touring, which I really like too, because you have those whisper headsets on. So we don't want to ever be those people that are yelling in church. So the nice thing is we don't have to go in. The tour manager can do it nice and quietly for you while we're out and about, and we're having a chance to really see things and talk to you about them. Because I always hate it whenever someone feels as though they're not getting all the information because they can't hear it. And we want to make sure that even though we're in some of these beautiful and sacred spots, that you get all the information you're looking for too. And then this spot here, oops, there we go. So this is a very unique little spot that we stop at too. So this is where the Jordan River flows and meets the Sea of Galilee, so then which turns into the Dead Sea. So it's a unique little area there too. So we do spend a little bit of time here. And if you're like me and anytime you see water when you're on a visit somewhere, you've got to take your shoes off, you certainly can. Because whenever we're on this trip, the weather's going to be pretty nice. So it's going to be about 77 to low 80s, 80, 81. So you'll have good weather. You want to maybe bring an umbrella just in case, but you don't have to worry. I mean, some people think Israel and it's going to be 102 every day. Don't worry about it at all. It'll be nice and comfortable. And considering it was 78 yesterday on November 1st, I think we can handle it in Indiana. I think we can handle it. And then of course that next day, we're seeing some more sights and we're moving on. So remember, we did stay at that one hotel for 4 nights. So we're not hopping around a lot either, and you really get to know the area. And you have that chance to explore and walk around a little bit on your own too. So this next day, we'll travel to Mount Tabor. So it's right up on the hill here. But when we arrive in Bethlehem, this is just absolutely breathtaking, I think. The views that you'll get when you're here, I mean, this is just that ancient city that I think it's perfectly how everyone pictures it too. But one of the spots that I'm really happy that we go to, I think it's a very unique thing, is we go to Shepherd's Field. So this is where the angels appeared on Christmas night. So again, we're seeing such a wide area, and we're covering so much ground on this trip, but you really see a lot of the journey that Jesus had. I mean, you're seeing things from the start to the finish, and I love that about this tour. Getting a little bit of everything makes it that great trip of a lifetime for you. And then, of course, the Church of the Nativity. So we do have Mass here at the Church of the Nativity for you, and this is the oldest continually functioning church in the world. I mean, it's a very unique spot, and it is gorgeous with the detail here. I mean, you'll see right here on the sides there. It is amazing. So to have Mass here, I think, is a very unique and fun thing for you to be able to do. So this is, it's considered to be built on the spot where Jesus was laid in his manger.
Can I add something?
Yes.
St. Jerome actually lived there for a period of time and transcribed the scriptures there. And when I was there, we got to see that area where he would have spent time.
Anyone can chime in with facts if you'd like. So then our day will come to an end here in Jerusalem, and you'll have a little bit of free time too as we arrive here. It is one of the holiest cities in the world, of course. And one of the things that I think everyone will really enjoy about the time we spend in Jerusalem is that you do get an entire free day here. So there'll be a bunch of different things that you can look at and do. But when we do some of our sightseeing here, this is the spot we'll start our next morning, and this is where Jesus wrote the Lord's Prayer and began to teach the Lord's Prayer. So again, it's those unique things that we're going to make sure you stop and you see. And now this is the Mount of Olives. So it's an absolutely beautiful spot that we stop at here. But it's a very interesting spot too, because you'll see it's almost like a line, like an imaginary little wall here. But the reason it's like that is because it separates the holy city from the Judean desert. And you can almost just see that imaginary line right there. I mean, the way that it's just taken like that. Absolutely green and beautiful, and then desert right there. And then we'll stop here too, the Church of All Nations. So this is where Jesus went and prayed the night before he was crucified. So again, seeing that entire path, I think, is what makes this tour very unique and very interesting for you. And then the beautiful St. Peter Church here that we'll go to. And we will also have a chance to walk through and do these things too and see the church. And again, you'll have those whisper headsets. So as we're stopping at each spot and you have that chance to reflect upon what happened there, you don't have to feel rushed. We want everyone to be able to make this spiritual journey their own and be able to express themselves however they'd like. And after going in here too, we will celebrate Mass at Church of St. John the Baptist. So again, having another unique Mass for you, a different location for you also. And then this next day, because remember we're in that same hotel again, this is the day you'll have entirely free on your own in Jerusalem. So we do have a couple different options for you if you'd like something to do that we arranged for you. If not, you have the whole day to explore and do whatever you'd like and stay back in town. But a couple things that you can do if you'd like. So you can do the first thing here, and you can see where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. So that is one option that you'd have. The next one for you, if you'd like to, so you could actually take a ride up on this cable car and visit Masada. So this was a fortress that was built by King Herod. And then one of the things that's very popular, you'll see a couple of my coworkers in here, so you can swim in the Dead Sea. So, and these are some things, if you'd like, you can do that day, or you can stay back. You certainly don't have to, but they're options for you. So we want to make sure that if there's one you want to do, you certainly have the opportunity. And then we'll all come back later to that evening. We'll come back together and we'll have Mass. So we'll celebrate Mass after everyone's had their different ways of exploring the city, and then we'll be touring that next day. So we're still in Jerusalem, but we wanted to give you a little break there to do whatever you'd like. Now that next day when we start, we're going to go and start through St. Stephen's Gate. So this is actually where he was stoned to death. So we'll start here, and then we're going through Jerusalem here. And as we're going, you'll see we go to the Church of St. Anne. So as we're following the path here, this is a very interesting day. Probably one of my favorite days of the entire tour with everything that you do. But by the Church of St. Anne, there's a bunch of different things we'll stop and see. But there's also the area where Jesus would heal those that are paralyzed and those that were sick. And then we'll move on and we'll see this church here. And the nice thing too is that you've got the tour manager, and this day we do have a local guide that will come through and go through some local sites with you too. So we have our tour manager who specializes in the destination, who helps you with everything, but it's always nice to get the opinion and the ideas from someone who lives there locally still today. So this was the spot as to where the crucifixion happened. So the crucifixion and where the tomb of Jesus was. So this is a very unique spot for us to go to, which I love. And then of course, as we're here, the Western Wall. I don't think you can go to Jerusalem and not see the Western Wall. So we'll be here for a little bit, and we go right up to it there. So you'll have a chance to walk around, and if you want to take some time for prayer or to read any specific scriptures, you certainly can. And as we're going through the tour, just make sure you're wearing those comfortable shoes, you're dressing in layers, and that way you can really enjoy the trip and you're not too hot and not too uncomfortable. After we spend some time at the Western Wall, that's when we will actually start doing, if you'd like to, the Path of the Cross. So the Path of the Cross is about 2,000 feet. It's a little windy little roads that you'll go through and some walking there in the streets. You don't have to do the entire thing if you don't want to. If you ever want to skip an activity with us, that is completely fine. We want everyone to be comfortable, but this is certainly a unique and definitely a great thing to do when you're on this trip, is to walk that. And then after you go through the Path of the Cross, which again is about that 2,000 foot walk or so, we'll go to the Church of the Dormition here. And I think as you were going through the whole trip too, hopefully everyone noticed the way the architecture was very consistent with their shapes, and the way that even as time has passed so much, I mean, Israel is just very consistent with how it looks and how it maintains that history too. So this is the highest point in ancient Jerusalem here. And then that evening is when we will come together and we'll have a farewell dinner. We had our welcome dinner in the very beginning, some sprinkled in the middle, and then of course the very end, before we start the flight home, we have everyone come together for that farewell